Hi there, I'm Amanda Cromholt from Truth. Welcome to the Blind Loyalty Challenge. We interview world experts in loyalty blindly. We're hoping to create insight, spontaneity, and a lot of fun through the challenge. The challenge is about promoting the blind loyalty trust, and my book called Blind Loyalty, 101 Loyalty Concepts Radically Simplified. All profits from the book go towards the trust. We hope you enjoy the Blind Loyalty Challenge. Our first Blind Loyalty Challenge of 2025. I have a co-guest host of Loyalty TV and Let's Talk Loyalty, Charlie Hills. I don't think Charlie needs any introduction to anyone in the loyalty world. She's the Chief Strategy Officer at Mando Connect. And we are so excited to have you with us, Charlie. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, I'm thrilled. First one of 2025. I'm quite excited. Must re-engage my brain after Christmas.
Yeah, so we're back off the back of a long South Africa holiday, so it probably feels a bit late to be having the first of the year, but it is.
Very jealous. We were back from the second, so yeah, this is just a normal day.
Question number one, straight into it. So you were a contributor to Blind Loyalty. I was very grateful to have you as part of the team that contributed. Chapter 60 was all about sustainability and does it really matter? Does it matter?
Oh, I love this question. Yes, it absolutely does. And I think it's one of those big areas in loyalty that as a loyalty program lead, it's very easy to overlook. Because at the moment, particularly if you sit there with your membership base, if you sit there with your audiences, they're not going to have it as their number one priority now. They're going to want value. They're going to want help with cost of living. They're going to want treats and little fun rewards and things that can give them a boost. And that current trend of joyalty and gamification is really there. But I've always thought, and I know I put it in the book, that it's really important to think about the long term. It's the literal definition of what we do, loyalty for the long term. And actually, as responsible marketeers, as people trying to build long-term, meaningful relationships with our audience, of course it matters, sustainability and corporate social responsibility. I think as a program lead, we have responsibilities to adhere to the master brand's social responsibility policies. I think that's probably your bare minimum. But I think it's really important that we think above and beyond that, and you think about how the program can actively contribute. And there are some brilliant tactics out there, you know, from points donations to charities, to supporting good causes, to involving your community, to working with brand partners who've got strong sustainability stories, to rewarding sustainable behaviors. I think that's one of my favorite trends that I've seen. You know, programs you can earn more if you demonstrate a sustainable behavior. So I think it's really important for the long term. And that's what we're here to do, is to build those long-term relationships. I'd hate to be any loyalty program marketeer in 5 or 10 years who sat there and went, you know, what's your sustainability policy? And they said, oh, I haven't really got one. I think that's a huge opportunity missed.
Yeah, and obviously us running the Blind Loyalty Trust, one of our biggest funding for the trust is points donation, points redemption.
Exactly.
I'm just on the back of a weekend where we've managed to give sight to 27 beautiful humans who would live their life in blindness without that kind of donation. So seriously, it's a big, so yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
Great. I think that's, you know, and that's a brilliant example. And I think the feel good that you get from that, and that we all get as an industry from contributing to that, is absolutely key. And I think you have to remember that that's the same for our members. You know, for the long term, that is really, really important part of any program. And I think it should be part of every single program, no matter the brand or sector.
Yeah, stunning. Cool. Well, we're both passionate about a similar thing here. So the second chapter, again, I think is easy peasy for you, Charlie. It's about loyalty partnerships. So given your business, what is the most impactful loyalty partnership you've ever experienced?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So I'm Chief Strategy Officer of Mando. We're WPP's partnerships agency. So we do hundreds of brand partnerships every year. I think what the most interesting development in partnerships for me over the last few years is how much more sophisticated programs are getting in their partnerships. So an obvious answer to your question would be a partner reward partnership. And I think there are some brilliant examples. You know, we operate mostly in the European market. So if we looked at a program like VeryMe Rewards from Vodafone, you know, they're doing 20 or 30 different partner rewards to connect their audience to partners and brands that they love. If we look at a big program like Tesco Clubcard, they have a really strong value exchange with partners in days out and entertainment and brilliant kind of areas. So I think partner rewards, there are lots of really good examples. But I think what's really interesting has been the integration of different types of brand partnerships into loyalty programs. So sponsorship is one of my favorite integrations. Marriott Bonvoy, I know you have a global audience, but what Marriott Bonvoy have done in Marriott Moments and how they've leveraged their brand sponsorship partnerships to create once in a lifetime experiences for their members, I think is something really, really special and probably one of the best examples in the world that I've seen of sponsorship in action. Shell Go Plus is another great example with the Scuderia Ferrari partnership. And that long term, 75 years of a relationship, then bringing real value to their members. And then we're also seeing partnerships for acquisition, partnerships for promotions, partnerships for gamification, partnerships for corporate social responsibility. So hundreds of brilliant examples. I don't think I could do just one.
I'll let you get away with it just because you've shared so much for us.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's beautiful. So the last question may be a bit trickier because it's trickier from my point of view, just because I don't know the market well enough. But obviously, you are deeply entrenched with your white paper with the European markets. So chapter 16, we talk about data legislation. Do you think data legislation like GDPR can be applied equally across all the different European markets?
Ooh,
and it obviously goes beyond Europe, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question. So we do the Understanding Loyalty in Europe white paper in partnership with YouGov across 24 European markets. And what can and cannot be done across those different markets driven by data legislation, but also local market legislation and local market policy has had a huge influence in shaping the different loyalty programs in the different countries. And I think I shared with you previously, Amanda, that actually turned out to be my favorite part of that research, actually looking at what the case studies were and what stages the different markets were at, actually, as well as the kind of core data components. So I think it's really interesting and it's really important. There is no one size fits all, because even though GDPR applies across everything, what we have learned in depth is that every single one of those 24 markets has different legislation on top. So for example, IKEA Family, one of my favorite programs, if you look at how they activate across their markets due to the different legislations, in some markets you can get a free coffee, in some markets you can't, in some markets you can get a discount, in some markets you can't, in some markets you opt in some markets you can't. It's a really good example of a one framework program, but that has to tailor to the different markets and the different legislation. So yeah, very good question.
Yeah, I love that response about IKEA, because you're seeing it play out beautifully.
Yeah, it's really important. And, you've got to, much in the same way as I answered about sustainability, when you're designing your long-term partnership and loyalty strategy, you have to think about that upfront. But the legal and operating parameters of each of those markets is hugely important when you're running a pan-European program. And you've got to get it right. You're not allowed to get it wrong. So you need a really good legal, you need a really good lawyer, a really good legal counsel right up front to help you get that right.
You're not allowed to get it wrong. I love that. Okay. Last question, but I've actually added a new one for 2025. So who would you like to tag to do the Blind Loyalty Challenge?
I think for me, a big trend at the moment is partnerships and loyalty. And as I've said, that increasing sophistication. So I'm actually going to tag Joe Ashdown, who's our managing director and head of partnerships at Mando Connect, because whilst I can give you the overview, Joe can give you some awesome examples of partnerships in action and what they've delivered and how different types of programs are using them.
So is that your question? Partnership, give us the best example of partnerships in action.
Yeah, across the different types.
Great. Okay. Lovely. I'm scribbling furiously. Charlie, thank you as always. Such a treat to see you, and I know I'll see you in person sometime, someplace this year.
You will definitely. It'll be an awards or a conference, I'm sure. Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be part of it. Big fan of Blind Loyalty, even though I can't say it.